Excited. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
let's see how it all unfolds. And if you feel like you want some music or anything through it, I'm sitting at my piano.
Yeah, why don't you? Well, you can put that in whenever at the end or, yeah.
We'll just see where it might come in.
Yeah. I love it.
It'll come in.
So do you want to just share, or do you want me to kind of like ask you questions on the way? Like,
yeah, asking questions is usually makes it more natural and fun.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, I like interview style. I can also rabbit on for a long time, but
when you pause for a while, that's when I know. Okay, you can like a ding.
I'll do a little piano. That's
Yeah.
time to ask the question.
Perfect. Perfect. I'm gonna wait a little bit longer, a few more minutes. How was your day today? Where'd you get up to?
Really good. I had a friend's birthday party in the park, and it's sort of like the first time since restrictions that actually, like, our friends have actually got to see each other. So there was lots of friends I hadn't seen in about 6 months. So yeah, it was great.
Yeah, the restrictions have lifted, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's still some, but we're not totally out of the gate yet. But I've heard in Bali that there's a lot more cases in Bali than there is in Melbourne.
No,
No?
No, it's just the media.
Oh, just the media. Because I researched because my friend is in Bali and she's like, there's lots of cases here.
No, there isn't. They're actually telling people to say that it's COVID, but it's not. Like, it's just normal fever or people passing away from other things, because the hospitals get commission for it, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, everything's been operating normal here. Yeah.
Ah. How long have you been doing this interview series for?
I spoke at the very first conference back in March, I believe, and then I moderated a few times, and then I hosted, and I've been doing these series for like the last month and a bit. Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So I get excited who I get to kind of bring on. Yeah. Yeah. It's always just nice getting to know people as well, and honestly, such a beautiful time, because I wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't for COVID, you know?
Yeah. I've had lots of different, magical things that have happened because of COVID. So that might come up in the in the chat. We'll see.
Yeah. This is just like a beautiful incubation period for us, I feel.
I'm feeling a lot more grounded in my life now than I was pre-COVID. So
yeah,
I've been able to put lots of sexist systems and structures in place to be more grounded and
Awesome. Hi, Isla. So Isla's a founder. She's here.
Oh. Hi, Neely. I'm not feeling very well. I had a fever from Bali, so not COVID though. We checked yesterday, is negative, but
just rest maybe because you haven't fly in the airplane for so long.
Yeah, right? Maybe there's spirit following me.
We can
Bali.
Yeah. Okay, let's start.
Maybe there is a spirit following me from Bali, because my dog goes like barking a lot when I come back, so that makes me sick. I don't know.
Use a sage. Use a sage that I gave you.
It was missing you.
Okay. All right, we'll get started. Nadia, do you want to play the video before we start?
Welcome, Claire. Welcome, Claire.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much. Welcome everyone to this series of health and wellness for World Women Leading Change. I'm Nee, and today I have the beautiful Clare Elizabeth Dyer. I'm here to speak about turning shame into success. Clare, do you want to share with us, a little bit about, who you are and what it is that you do?
Yeah, well, firstly, thank you. Thank you so much, Nee, and everyone for having me. Really excited. I'm in Melbourne, Australia at the moment, and the COVID restrictions have just been lifted. So feeling lots of celebration today. And so I pretty much popped out of the womb as a dancer. Pretty much the moment I popped out, I started ballet class, and all I wanted was to be a prima ballerina. And at the age of 8, my dad sadly lost his job. And my mum and dad said that I could no longer do my dance classes, and I was absolutely devastated. But that was when my inner entrepreneur was born. And I saw a little boy down the street playing the violin, and people were throwing him money. And I thought to myself, oh, you can play a musical instrument down the street and people pay you money. So I was learning the recorder at school, and I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to play the recorder down at the local shopping centre, and I'm going to put out a little bucket and a sign saying I'm busking to pay for my dance classes. And so from the age of 8 to 16, I actually paid for my dance classes and my school fees from busking down at the local shop. So from a very young age, I believed that you could make your dreams happen. My dream was to be a famous ballerina, and I thought, I'm going to make this happen. However, another challenge did come when I was about 15. And I was 15 and I was at my local ballet studio, and I was looking in the mirror, and I was looking at my pink ballet shoes, my pink ballet tights, my leotard, my hair in a ballet bun. But what I could see most was one juicy boob. One juicy boob. The right. The left-hand side, nothing. Zipola. No one home. So for anyone out there that has never met me before and doesn't know my story, I was born with Poland syndrome. So my left-hand side of the body is smaller than the right. I was born without my left pec, so my left breast never developed. And I'm sure that Nee and everyone watching, that you can remember back to being a teenager, and everything was about fitting in, and you wanted to feel like you belonged. And for me, as a female and ballet dancer, I wanted to be perfect. I really wanted to look perfect. And so with this one breast, I just felt like a one boob freak. So in that moment, I actually decided that I was never going to tell a soul. Like, I'm never going to tell anyone. And so how I did that at the start was stuff tissue down my bra. So every single lunchtime, while everyone's out playing basketball, I'm in the toilets, like making sure that, my boobs are looking even. And there was just so much shame because I did really feel like a freak. And then, thank goodness for my grandma, my nana, she gave me her retirement money so I could actually have a muscle transplant. So they actually took out the left latissimus dorsi out of my back, and they put it into my left pec. And then I got this breast expander with this needle. And so every time my right-hand side got bigger, I got to pump up the left-hand side, and got to the point that I've got two very nice looking breasts. But the thing is that my mindset hadn't shifted. Nothing had changed, and I still felt within like I was a one boob freak. And so I then decided I still wasn't going to tell anyone. I spent the first 28 years of my life not telling a soul. I was in a relationship with a man for 4 years and we never talked about it. It was the elephant in the room. And I'm not sure if you, Nee, or any of the audience can relate to that, but just having that one thing that you're like, I just don't want anyone to know about this. And I made it an art form, to the fact I became a very good actress, to then the fact I started making being an actress my career. I was really great at putting on a whole lot of masks and a whole lot of characters. But as my acting training went on, because of all of my deformities, I never made it as a ballet dancer. So it was like being an actor was the next best thing. But when I was at acting school, they taught us that the truth sets you free. And I was like, oh, I thought you just fake it. And no, in acting school, we get taught that the truth sets you free, and that to be an actor is actually learning how to be authentic. And it's about expressing all these different parts of yourself. And so as I was doing my acting training, I then gave myself a challenge at the age of 28 to actually try telling someone the truth. And so I was sort of like, okay, universe, I want you to tell me who the perfect person is to tell my story to. And I was 28 and I started dating this new guy. He was an accountant, short, really cute. And we were on our third date and we're sitting on the couch and he's wooing me with pineapple pizza. And he starts talking to me about his poor intestine, like how sick he is with his intestine. And I'm like, oh, you poor thing. But deep down, I'm like, yes, this is my moment. This is my person. Like he's actually asked to actually hear about any of our things. And so I then opened into this dialogue with him where I actually shared my story, and over 4 hours of crying and shaking and just so much fear to actually reveal my truth, I felt like the truth sets you free, as my acting teacher had promised. And the truth set me free for 24 hours. But 24 hours ahead, I got a text message from this guy I was dating, and he said, you know, thank you so much for being so honest with me last night. I want to be honest with you. My ex-girlfriend wants me back, and I think I'm going to go back with her. And in that moment, I was shattered because I thought that I was being punished for telling the truth. But once you actually tell the truth once, there's really no turning back. And so I went through this 9-month really deep dive of feeling all of the feelings that I had repressed for so long with trying to keep this secret. And after many months of crying myself to sleep and just feeling all the feels and getting a really good therapist, I started to actually tell a few more people, and I did it slowly. Like I talked to a therapist and I slowly talked to some good friends. And then I guess the really life-changing thing happened when I decided for the very first time to share my story at a public speaking event. And it was for the entertainment industry, because at the time I was working as a performance artist. And I shared my story for the very first time on stage, just like this, but it wasn't a virtual stage. It was a real life stage. Remember those days? And during my talk, I actually asked if a volunteer would come onto the stage with me and do a practice. Because even though I was sharing my story, I also teach public speaking and presence work. And I was going to be helping them to, you know, connect more to their truth. And so I said, now who in the audience wants to join me on the stage? And, you know, lots of people put up their hand, and I scanned the audience, and then all of a sudden I just saw this beam of light. It was just like this aura was over this one woman. And so I invited her up onto the stage, And we did this exercise, and I thanked her. And at the end of the event, she came and whispered in my ear, "I've got Poland syndrome too, and I've never told a soul." Now, that was the very first woman I had ever met in my life with my syndrome. And even though I've told this story now thousands of times, I still feel emotional that it wasn't until the age of 30 that I actually met anyone with this syndrome. I met one boy when I was a kid, but I never met a woman. And apparently it was rare. And I just felt so alone because I didn't actually have anyone to share this with. And so all I needed to know was that my story helped one person. And when I knew that my story could help one person, as much as I was scared, as much as the shame wanted to come in every single time I got a speaking gig, I decided to feel the fear and do it anyway. And so this is why, we're calling tonight's chat Transforming Shame into Success, because the shame still comes up, but I have the choice. I can have the choice to feel it and face the fear and do it anyway, or I can let the shame win. And so every single time I question myself about whether I'm doing the right thing by sharing my story wide with the world, I just remind myself of that one woman at that speaking event. And now I've actually written a book. So the book's called The One Breast Goddess, Transforming Shame into Beauty. And I don't know if anyone out there has written a personal memoir before, but even if maybe you've just shared a blog post about who you are, something really magical happens when you actually fully share your story with the world. And what happened for me was at my book launch, I finally gave myself permission to really do what I wanted to do. And what I really wanted to do was to be a performer. But the way that I'd always tried to be a performer was through auditioning for other people's shows, other people's films. And I kept getting rejected and rejected and rejected and rejected. However, God, spirit, inspiration, whatever your terminology, kept knocking on the door and kept whispering, "You're meant to write a one-woman show. And you're meant to integrate all of your talents together." And that for me was when I really stepped into leadership, was when I actually gave myself permission to integrate all of who I am into an avenue to help others. And so, on my journey, I've been a teacher. I've been facilitating workshops for over 20 years in the arts, teaching dance, acting, public speaking, performance skills. And then I'd been training as an actor, singer, dancer, and I'm a personal development junkie at heart. So I have done every single personal development course out there. And if I haven't done it, I've dated someone who has done it. And so I thought to myself, okay, so I'm a personal development junkie, and I love acting, singing, and dancing, and I love teaching and speaking. How can I mush this all together? And that was when I started crafting my one-woman show. And so the first one-woman show I created was called Dropping the Mask. And that really was a process of me actually dropping my mask of what I thought my career was supposed to look like, to actually really listening to my true calling. And when I really listened to my true calling, it was then to actually create a comedy show. Now, I label myself as a spiritual comedian at times, but I've never thought of myself as a comedian. I just like to express all different parts of myself. I like to share all colors of the rainbow. And part of me that I was repressing was this comedian, was this part of myself that just loved to play and tell jokes and be funny. And so my next step was to actually put my show into a comedy cabaret. And that was when my shame really started to blossom into success, because I kept listening to the intuitive nudges and I kept facing the fear. And as much as there were so many reasons why I couldn't move forward so many times because of money and because of negative thinking, I just kept hearing that whisper, and I kept just seeing that woman with Poland syndrome in the audience. And last September, I launched, as part of the Melbourne Fringe Festival, my new one-woman show. And then I started to tour it around Australia. And that was the absolute dream, to actually tour my show around Australia and actually get to meet all of these people online that I had met, but actually get to meet them face to face. And then obviously the bigger vision to actually go global and actually then get to meet all of the people, like amazing people in Bali and all different places around the world. But because of COVID, we all know what happened is that all events got cancelled. And here in Australia, it's been very strict. There's absolutely no events. And especially in Melbourne, where COVID has hit the hardest, there's no events, and there still doesn't look like there's going to be events for quite a while. So literally within a moment, I needed to pivot my business, because overnight, my career was over. And overnight, my tour was cancelled. And even though I taught workshops online, I hadn't been doing that for quite a while, because I was finally living my dream of touring my show and doing that one thing that brought me the most amount of joy. And so I pivoted my business by actually creating an online dating show for people during COVID to actually get to meet each other. And I had people apply from all over Australia and actually Bali. And so I had 7 amazing women, and I had one amazing man who was the bachelor, and he was actually my housemate, and he is very delicious and very much was looking for love. And so I put on this online spiritual dating show. And because I've created this fun spiritual character called Crystal Indigo Light, she hosted the show. And so I really got to put all of my passion of personal development and spirituality into my comedy and my performing. And it's been so amazing, all of the contacts that I've got to, all these people I've got to connect with now through going online. And now, like, just things like this gathering right here, because of COVID, we're more creating this virtual global stage. So I'm getting more opportunities to actually spread my message far and wide. And so I guess what I'm really passionate about is helping women, especially, transform their shame and to really love their imperfections. Because when I actually look at all the parts of me that are imperfect, they're actually my gold and where I've been able to create the most amount of success. So that's a long introduction, but it's also a very, very little short part of the story. But Neela, happy for any questions or anything.
Wow.
Divert wherever we want to go.
I was just speechless the whole time you were talking, because there are so many aspects of your story that just resonated with me so much. And I'm sure that it does with many people on here. Like, when you said you used to go to the toilet during lunchtime, like I used to do that too, but it's because I was getting bullied. So like, even just you saying that, it just brought me back to that time in my childhood. And when I was going through, trauma, pain, discomfort, and, a lot of shame as well. And I feel like that all comes back to this self-worth, this just self-worth. And that comes back to self-love. So, oh my gosh, thank you so much for that beautiful intro and just sharing your story. It's just so inspiring. Just your journey already, and I'm sure there's just so much more left to come and do. So with this whole virtual thing that you've been doing, how have you been doing that? The show that you've been doing, it's all been online as well?
Yeah. So it was funny because the weekend before COVID started, I had this dream gig in Queensland and I got to perform my show in front of 800 like entrepreneurs. It was like just such a dream. And there were all these workshops at that conference. And one of them was the power of Facebook groups. Like the whole workshop was Facebook groups, Facebook groups, Facebook groups. And I knew that there was power in Facebook groups, but I also know that unless you've actually got a really unique idea, having a Facebook group can also just be really, really annoying for a lot of people with notifications. So I knew I didn't want to create a Facebook group unless I had a really unique offering. And it was really interesting. It was my 3-year anniversary with my partner. And we'd had this really beautiful romantic day together. And it was the end of the night and he was like nuzzled in my arm and he was like sleeping. And all of a sudden I just had the download for this show. And I just got this idea. And I was like, I can do it in a Facebook group. And so I decided to first leverage Facebook because that is where I've also built a strong community. I've been advertising my businesses on Facebook for the last 10 years because I actually had an acting school for 6 years, teaching creatives and coaches and entrepreneurs and performers how to really own the stage and video. And so I already had a community and I'd also been touring my show. So I had people following my journey. So I went, you know what? You want to create it where your audience already is. And my audience was already on Facebook. So I created this group and we did it on Zoom. So it was an 8-week transformational journey. So people had to like apply to be part of it. So I had lots of applications and then I interviewed different women and I finally cut it down to the final 7. And we had 8 episodes on Zoom that was live streamed into a Facebook group, which is exactly what's happening right now. And we had people all around the world, predominantly in Australia and Bali, because that's where the contestants were. But we also had people from all around the world tuning in every Sunday night. And we had the reason it was so successful, and we ended up getting sponsors like wanting to be part of it. And that was where the success really came in, was that all of these different businesses were like, we want to be part of this movement. Can we sponsor your show? And so it just kind of grew like from really nothing. It was just like, let's do this fun thing in a Facebook group to actually coming this whole TV production with sponsors, and somehow me making more money having this show from my own house than traveling around Australia. And I was like, how does this happen? And it's like, it's COVID, the magic of COVID. And so I know that hasn't been most people's experience of COVID. And I did struggle at the start. But once I really reframed that I really could only use what I've got right now. And all I've got right now is my computer. I've got a Zoom account. I've got a Facebook account. And I've got an audience on Facebook. How can I make that work for me right now? And that was when we released the first episode. Sponsors came in. And then we took everyone on this 8-week journey. We had the audience vote in different weeks. We actually got 3 men from the audience 1 week onto the show as wild cards. And we just played. And I really didn't plan too far ahead. Every week I just really listened to my inner guidance and was like, okay, God, okay, inspiration, what's this week's show going to be? And I would just create it from nothing. And I was really lucky that I had these amazing spiritual, creative female entrepreneurs. So that was the only requirement for applying for the show, is that you needed to be creative, you needed to have an interest in personal development and personal growth, you needed to be single, you needed to be interested in the man, my housemate, but you also needed to be quite entrepreneurial. So yeah, we had 7 amazing female entrepreneurs on the show. And it was so amazing because they built their brand tenfold from being on the show. And because even though it was a dating show, I got them to do all these creative exercises throughout the week. So, you know, one week, one of the women singing, like they made up a song for Chris, the bachelor. And then they were reading out poems. And then one week they were doing workshops for each other. And it was just this really beautiful community vibe where all of these female entrepreneurs got to really share their genius with the audience. And so even though not all of them necessarily found a man, they all got to build their brand and build their audience. So I think they were all quite happy at the end. And and actually the girl from Bali, the woman from Bali, I should say, she actually, won. And she was the one that actually my housemate chose at the end. And but yeah, with Bali and Australia not really being friends at the moment, it wasn't looking like they were going to get to see each other anytime soon. But yeah, it's been a really magical journey. And now one of the women on the show, there was one woman, Kirsty Carr, and she's also a spiritual comedian. And she's the only other person I've ever met that does anything remotely like what I do. And she was one of the contestants on the show, and the audience fell in love with her. And she's just got this charisma and this raw vulnerability. And so we've now gone into business together, and we've actually created workshops for creatives, coaches, and entrepreneurs to help them get their message out on video and stage. So I've usually always done this by myself, and it's been a lonely pursuit, and especially during COVID. So it feels really amazing that this show got to actually introduce me to a new business partner. And now we're actually getting to help people all around the world with their public speaking, bringing humor and heart. And yeah, it's just been a really special, special time.
Wow, that is so amazing. And I feel like, what you just shared would give people so much more inspiration, because you can create so much from the comfort of your own home. And it's really just about taking action, and whatever it is that you feel inspired to do, just do it, and magic will just unfold in your life in the most incredible ways, because you just never know what will happen.
I truly believe in the power of the present moment. And so the situation that you're actually in right now, what's the magical thing that you can create from where you are right now? And so I always tell people not to deny any feelings. So if there's sadness about a situation or an anger or a jealousy, like, you let that come up, because then you're creating from not the truth.
Yeah.
But that's also just a feeling. And it's like, once you've actually taken time to actually address those feelings are there, it's like, what does your intuition want? Like, what do you really want to create? What does your heart really, what does your heart really want to do? And so for me, the first whisper was always putting on one-woman shows. And when I couldn't do that anymore in person, it was like, well, how can I actually do that from where I am right now? So, and I was just asking the question, how can I help people at this time? And all these single people out there that were locked up and not getting to meet people, in the usual way. And, obviously there's speed dating and there's things out there for people to meet people, but I thought this would be a fun way And so we've had lots of people in the community who watch the show also, you know, get to know each other and go on virtual dates. So make Zoom dating sexy. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what tips would you give anyone watching who is, you know, undergoing self-worth or, you know, shame issues right now? From your experience.
I love that. Well, the first thing is always to actually just address the truth of how you're feeling. So if you actually feel a shame around something, the first thing you've got to do is actually admit the truth of it, to not deny it. Don't put it in the basement. The more that you keep it in the basement, you keep it a secret, you don't tell someone, what happens is over time, it starts to fester. It's like you've put something in the rubbish bin and you haven't actually taken it out to the tip, and it keeps building up over time. It starts to smell, and, you know, you start to manifest situations that aren't great. Like for me, I always was manifesting car accidents. And it's so funny, ever since I've told the truth about my story, I've never been in a car accident. I was in them regularly. And I was getting sick all the time. And I was always finding men that didn't want to commit to me because I wasn't actually wanting to tell the truth to them anyway. And so the first thing is actually to say to yourself, you know, I actually have a shame, or I have a secret, or there's something I'm feeling down about. The next thing is always to find one person that you trust enough to actually listen to you without judgment. And so usually that first person isn't necessarily a parent or necessarily a partner or necessarily a best friend, even though sometimes they are the right people to go to. For me, I needed to find a therapist. But you know, there's support groups, there's recovery groups out there for so many things. And because thanks to Zoom, there's recovery programs in, you know, whether you've got an alcohol problem or you've got a gambling problem, you know, you've got a eating problem. There's recovery programs for everything out there. Like for social media addiction, there's recovery programs these days. And so the biggest thing is to actually get into at least one other person that is going to hold space for you without judgment and actually share fully the fullness of what's really going on for you. And so for me, that person I chose was this guy I had been dating for 3 dates. So even though I felt intimacy and comfort in telling him in the present moment, there was no guarantee that he was going to be there for me the next day. He really wasn't necessarily the safest and best option. Now, I don't regret that I did that, because there was lots of growth that came from sharing it with him. And he's actually still my accountant to this day. We're still friends. But if I was going to tell my younger self what to do, I would have said to my younger self, you don't need to do this alone. And you don't need to tell someone that you're on a 3rd date with your biggest secret. You need to actually find someone that has experience in holding a safe space, and someone that can guarantee can be there for you longer than a pineapple pizza date. And so that would be always what I would say to anyone, is first finding a safe person to share what's happening with. Because what happens is when you fully say it and you fully feel the feelings of this shame or what you're feeling, it disappears. It's like magic. And especially when you tell someone that is really, really trusted and can hold a safe space for you longer than just that one time. Because what happened for me was that my wound came fully exposed, and I was wanting this guy to be able to be my Prince Charming and, you know, us gallivant into the sunset and him be able to help me through all of my problems to the end of time. But we can't expect anyone to do that for us. And we definitely can't expect a man who you've been on a date with for three times to be that person. And so I really had to bust a myth around, you know, finding the perfect man and that the man I'm dating is supposed to be that person for me. And so, yeah, I went from first then talking to a therapist, and then over time talking about what's really going on for me with people I trust. And then I had to learn how to build self-confidence. And I think this is where maybe, you know, the conversation might want to be directed to, because yes, you can actually name your shame and we can name the beliefs that aren't serving us. But if you're not actually taking action towards the things that your heart is calling you to, you will always never feel enough. Now, that's not to say that I don't have days where the beliefs like I'm not enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not perfect enough, I don't belong come up, because every human has those deep beliefs within that come up at times. It's never about going, I'm going to try and get rid of them, that I never have them again. That doesn't work. The more you try and push something away, the more it resists, it persists. So I don't try and get rid of those beliefs. What I do is turn my focus to what I love and the things I want to create and taking action towards them. And whenever I get a hurdle of fear, I then feel the fear, I name it, I tell safe people that I'm feeling scared and I need support, and then I get people to hold my hand while I go and take the action. And so for me, with my one-woman show, I didn't do it by myself. I got a director on board. I got a musical director, my partner. I had stage manager. I had my mum. I had friends. I had a whole team around me to hold my hand while I went out there and did that thing that was so scary. So it's definitely no overnight process. I think rehearsal, and this is what I've definitely learned as an actor, is that the more you rehearse a scene, the better you get at it. And so for me, it's the more I rehearse doing those things that my heart is calling me to do, like go and spend time by the beach. My heart just wants me to do more of that. And my heart wants me to study business, for example. And then my heart wants me to create one-woman shows. Whatever the thing is, I listen to my heart and I take action. And the more I do that, the less shame I feel, the less guilt. And I guess the other thing that I would say for anyone, it's also about cleaning up the closet. So for me, I was a compulsive liar and hider because I didn't want anyone to know my story. And when I actually realized that I'd lied to so many people and I'd made up so much stuff, I had apologies to make. And I think that's another way that I've really transformed shame into success, especially over the last 3 to 4 years, because I've been doing deep personal growth work around apologizing and forgiveness. And that forgiveness work isn't just me apologizing to other people, but it was also looked like apologizing to myself and making an amends to myself. And so I have daily self-love practices that I plan on doing for the rest of my life to make an amends to myself, to, you know, just let my little girl know that I've got her back and I'm always going to be there for her. So we always sing, we always dance, we go for walks on the beach, and yeah, we do things that our heart wants to do.
That's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that. Resonate with that so much. And I feel like, you know, that's something a lot of people, and I feel like, you know, especially young girls struggle with, you know, especially this day and age of social media and all these things, you know, shame and self-worth comes up a lot. So yeah, wow, thank you. We have like 10 minutes left. Is there anything else that you would like to share that in terms of like health and wellness that you would feel would really, really support people right now?
What I'd say is that you want to do what you love, because when you're doing the thing that you love, you set your vibration to the state of love, right? Because you're doing something you love. I used to have so much shame about wanting to spend so much time doing things that I loved, but I actually realized that doing things I love is actually the way that I can love others. And so for me, that's singing. And so I thought that maybe I would, maybe before you do a meditation, maybe to close us off, there's actually a song that I've written just recently, and I wrote it during the pandemic. And it's about learning how to let go of control and how to be free during this time. And I thought maybe I would sing it for you, and maybe everyone can close their eyes and let their belly be soft and focus on their breath. And maybe I can sing this song, and then maybe you can close us up with maybe a few words of a meditation at the end. Does that sound like a good idea, Nee? So, the sun is rising, the coffee brews. I sit at my piano and play some tunes. It's a new day, time to go within. Ask for guidance, where to begin. It's time to let go. It's time to lose control. It's time to wake up and break up with all I used to know. It's time to be free. New me. Say goodbye, au revoir, my friend. It's time to start again. The leaves are falling, a storm starts to brew. I sit at my piano and play the blues. The world is crying. I close my eyes and sit. Will I crack? Take another hit. It's time to let go. It's time to lose control. It's time to wake up and break up with all I used to know. It's time to be free. New me. Say goodbye, au revoir, my friend. It's time to start again. I'll break for you. I'll break for you. My love's true. I'll break for thee. I'll break for we. I'll break for me. The stars are shining. It's a full moon. The day is over so soon. I'll surrender, open my heart wide. Honor the genius by my side. It's time to let go. It's time to lose control. It's time to wake up and break up with all I used to know. It's time to be free. You and me. Say goodbye, au revoir, my friend. Say goodbye, au revoir, my friend. It's time to let go. It's time to lose control. It's time to wake up and break up with all I used to know. It's time to be free. You and me. Say goodbye, au revoir, my friend. It's time to start again. Namaste.
Thank you so much, Claire.
Wow, thank you.
Wow.
Really wonderful.
Maybe I'll get everyone to keep their eyes closed for another 5 minutes. And just really bathe into the goodness that Claire has just shared with us. And just bring your awareness to your breath. And just notice the way that you are breathing in this moment. And I'd invite you to really think about everything that Claire has shared with us this evening. What resonated with you the deepest? What wisdom did you gain? And through the inspiration that you've gained today, how can you go and sprinkle that magic into other people's lives, even if it is just one person? And because shame is the topic, the theme of today, I'd invite you to introspect and reflect in the parts of your lives within you that still holds on to shame. What are you most afraid of sharing? How can you lean into that discomfort, that fear, and look at it through the lens of love. And to really use that to share and inspire others. And when you're ready, get you to just take a deep inhale through your nose and exhaling out of your mouth. Inhaling again through your nose and exhaling out of your mouth. One more time, inhaling through your nose and an audible exhale. Just feel the waves of calmness, serenity, peace, inspiration, love to flow to you and to flow through you. When you feel ready, you can open your eyes and just come back to the space. Wow. Thank you so much for this beautiful, beautiful evening. I'm just going to turn the light. Thank you so much for being here, Claire, and for sharing your story and your wisdom. It's just been so amazing to have you, and your story is just phenomenal. And I feel like this is why I love having people on here, just to really share their story, because no one else has a story, that is exactly the same as yours. And wow, I feel like this would help so many people, and continue to do what you do. And I'm so excited to be able to attend one of your shows one day, whenever that may be. And you have the most incredible voice. Oh my goodness.
Well, hopefully the borders open and I can perform in Bali. So
Yes, I would love for you to come and perform here. We can definitely put something together. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here, and anyone that's watching live right now. Thank you so much. And you can reach out to Claire if you would like support in anything, and with all the things that she's creating. Please reach out to her. I've shared her details, I believe, with a lot of you guys, but you can just go on to the Facebook and search for her information. Thank you.
I'd love to connect with anyone. Feel free to Facebook, Instagram, check out my website. But I'd love to support any of you in any way I can.
Thank you, Claire. I'd love to hear you sing again, like for much longer. Wow, thank you. Thank you so much, Isla, for
thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Have a beautiful night, beautiful evening, everyone, and see you again soon.
Thank you very much all. Thank you, Claire. Thank you, Nili.
Hi, thank you.
Beautiful voice, Claire. I hope to see you singing live.
Thank you. Yes, singing live, it sounds a lot better as well. Yeah, hopefully one day.
Yes, we have today many people from Africa. There's Princess from Africa, Princess Debbie. Many of women from Africa as well, and Jakarta, and also from Indonesia, and of course, I think you are amazing. To be yourself is just amazing. To express whatever is in your head is amazing, and to be you is just amazing. Thank you so much. Yes, may God bless you, Claire, and may your path is bright like you, like giving light for people. Not many people have that talent to see the light and to be the light.
Thank you so
Love
much.
you.
Much thanks to Nee, for inviting me. I feel really honored and privileged.
Yes, Neely is just amazing. She's the light of our WWLC Australia.
Yeah, definitely.
She's the Mercusuar of Australia woman.
Thank you, and I feel so honored to just co-create with everyone and just empower one another. There's just so much goodness to share, so much magic to share. So being able to do that in whatever way is just amazing. So thank you.
It's nearly bedtime here in Melbourne.
Yes.
Bed.
Good night, Claire.
Everyone.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
We are the woman leading change, leading change. We are the woman leading change, leading change. We are the woman leading change, leading change. We are the woman leading change for our people, for our countries, for everyone in the world. Love, peace, needed in this world. Endurance, needed in this world. Forgiveness, needed in this world. Unity, needed in this world. Yes, African woman leading change. Antarctican woman leading change. Yes, Asia woman leading change. Yes, Australia woman leading change. Yes, Europe woman leading change. Yes, North America. Yes, South America. Woman leading change. Kalirato fella. Kalirato fella. Woman leading change. Kalitabo fella. Kalitabo fella. Woman leading change. Gotando pella. Gotando pella. Woman leading change. Yes, Indonesia. Yes, Ayla. Yes, Ayla. Woman leading change. Yes, Indonesia. We thank you, world woman leading change.